Anyway, since it's your first time on the show here, Alan, I'll ask you this question that I ask all my first time guests. How'd you become a wrestling fan? How'd you get into it way back when?
Oh, well, my earliest memories, like obviously because I got into it super young, so those really early memories kind of blend together, and it's hard to say this was the first thing I saw. But I know like comfortably like the first handful of things I saw, and they certainly stand out. And the one that I think was the earliest was an episode of whatever syndicated show, Challenge All American Superstars, coming on afternoon weekend on Sky One in probably 1991. And there was a local kind of coming to your area promo that they did with a bunch of wrestlers back to back, like they used to do on the TV back then. And they had Earthquake, Jimmy Hart, and I feel like there was a third person in there, and I don't think it would have been Typhoon. No, it wouldn't have been Typhoon if it was 91. It might have still been Dino Bravo. But anyway, Earthquake and Jimmy Hart were definitely there. And Earthquake was jumping up and down, creating a ruckus, and I was like, oh my God. And he said, we're coming to the UK, and I'm coming to your town, and da, 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 da. And even though I'm not from the UK, I am from Ireland, and this was threatening enough proximity wise that I got very scared, especially when he said he's coming to your town. I was like, because he pointed right at the screen. So I just thought he was pointing to me, telling me he was coming to your town, Alan. And I ran outside, stricken with terror, to where my dad was trimming the hedges in the front garden. And I called my dad down from the ladder that he was on, and I um, just started probably ranting at a mile a minute. This big guy jumping up and down, he's coming, he's going to knock on my door. Like, I remember thinking in my head that Earthquake was going to, like, literally knock on the door of my house with Jimmy Hart and, I don't know, start bouncing. Maybe sit on me. I'm not sure, but I was really, really worried about this, and my dad had to squash those worries. And then, like, probably my next memory that would have been after that again involved my dad, because I was watching the Macho Man Jake the Snake bite angle, and after the snake bites the Macho Man's arm, you see the red bit of blood streaming down, and I remember I was just in awe, and my dad just goes, "That's tomato ketchup," and I was like, uh, even as a 6 year old at that point, I was like, hang on now, Dad. How could it be tomato ketchup? There's all these fans there. Like, how would they have been able to pause, get out a ketchup bottle, put the ketchup on his arm with all those fans sitting there watching? Doesn't make sense. So I called my dad's bluff on the logic element of it, and I didn't know about blading at that stage. But even if I did, it really wasn't a blading thing. I guess Macho Man like legit let the snake bite him to cause the blood. So that was probably as legit as it comes. So yeah, my dad, Papa 4L, was a little too cynical back then.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. As a kid, whenever I watched wrestling with my dad, he never, was like, "Oh, that's fake and stupid" or whatever. He was always like going along with it, which I think
Well,
is
mine
pretty.
still does it now. If I try to show him something now, it's like, yeah, he just loves to call bullshit on it. Like the I watched an episode of Rampage last Christmas when I was staying over at my parents, and he was in the room as I was watching it, and he buried everything except Hook. He was
Ah,
like, he had, I forgot what his comment about Hook was. He was like something like, "Oh, they're really gonna make him a big thing, aren't they?" It's like, yeah, yeah, I guess so.
a man of culture, I see. Yes, yes.
You don't
But
you don't remember having similar burials from your dad? You were saying?
I don't think I ever did. No, my dad's always been very supportive of me being a wrestling fan. Like it's never really been our big bonding thing. That's always been more movies and TV shows and stand up comedy or whatever. But no, he's always been very positive about wrestling, and my mom was too as well. So yeah, I have no no shared experiences in that regard there, Alan. So
Yeah, my mom. pretty much never. My mom is like just not a TV watcher, really. Not an and she does. She's not someone who engages in entertainment too much. Like she's just kind of, you know, prefers to worry about like her life and like doing her job, raising her children, and blocking out everything that you're very kind of like Marge Simpson-esque. Never like kind of gives herself a chance to like enjoy something, and she doesn't like have the attention span to watch TV or anything. She just so like she's never been into sport. Like would kind of she'll watch the news, so she'll have like enough knowledge of sport just from the news. But like she used to when I started watching American football, geez, that's weird. I literally just got a text from my mom. She's listening in. When I started watching American football and MMA around the same time, she just branched all that under the umbrella of wrestling. Like she'd come in, I'd be watching American football, and she's like, "Oh, you're watching your wrestling?" Or like MMA and wrestling, I can kind of see, but why she thought American football was also under the umbrella of wrestling, I guess just because it was from America and I was watching it at weird times. Maybe that's it. But yeah, it was. Yeah, they. It was definitely my hobby that I did not share with my parents whatsoever. But somehow, through I don't know those initial forays into wrestling that I described, I became just a gigantic fan. That obviously, like talking the time frame of when that stuff was happening, like the year that followed was when the UK and Ireland just got into all things Americana, and pro wrestling, WWF in particular, had a huge popularity boom over here. And I mean, you couldn't go to any like toy shop or stationery shop without like seeing WWF branded stuff. Like they deserve so much credit. Like the WWF marketing machine, and it was a small machine back then. Like whether you credit Vince or Linda or whoever they had running the show on that end of things, like they deserve so much credit for how much trash merch they got into the UK in '92. Like I had Big Boss Man underpants and like Bret Hart socks and pencil cases with like the Legion of Doom on them, and like all the magazines, posters, and all this kind of stuff. It was so easy to get. It was everywhere. They did a fantastic job with that stuff, and that probably leads us nicely to what we're going to talk about, doesn't it, Andrew?